My name is Rafael Pardeiro. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and I work every day with patients of all different limitations, ages, arthritis, post-hospitalization. My goal is always to create a program that they can work with despite any limitations they might have, because nobody's going to do an exercise program that hurts or that is too difficult to do. So there are three basic principles that you can apply to any exercise program that will allow for you to adjust the difficulty of it, increase it or decrease it according to your personal limitations, whether it be joint limitations or weakness limitations. The first is going to be range of movement. There are ways to adjust your range of movement in your knees and your hips and all the other activities we're going to do. That would be the first area that you can adjust in order to increase or decrease the difficulty of what you're doing based on your limitations. The second is going to be repetitions. So if you're starting off, you always want to start with a lower number of repetitions so that your body can get used to it. So starting off with 5 repetitions, 10 repetitions of whatever activity that you're doing. Work yourself up to 15, 20, 30. Usually with my patients, 30 repetitions is the top number. At that point in time, you enter into the third area that you can adjust, which is going to be resistance. So if I'm lifting my hands over my head with nothing in my hands or no rubber bands, then I'm going to be dealing with no resistance. It's going to be as easy as it can be. If I want to make it more difficult, I have patients who will use, instead they don't have weights, they'll use canned food, bottles of water. They'll put a couple of canned foods into a tube sock. There's ways that you can create resistance without having to go and spend a lot of money buying toys at the store. So I'm going to go over a couple exercises to do in sitting with a couple of principles and rules to watch for, and then a couple to do in standing. And the goal is that we focus on every major joint in the body and address it in every direction that it moves. So there are 4 exercises for the arms, 4 for the legs in sitting, and then 4 in standing. So with the leg exercises, we're going to start off with a circulation exercise for the lower extremities, which are simply going to be foot taps with heel lifts. So it's a heel to toe exercise. You bring the feet up, tap them down, bring the heels up, drop them down. Then we're going to be doing a kicking exercise where you kick up and you kick down. Now this one is important to keep specific because the tendency is to do something like this, which is basically a cheat. You want to keep the knee and act it as a hinge up and then set the foot back down again. Up and set the foot back down again. That works your quadriceps muscle. Now we're going to focus on hip flexion, which is lifting and stomping. This is an important exercise because it contributes to walking. If you have a shuffling gait where you're not lifting your feet high enough, this is a way to improve the ability for your foot to clear the ground as you're walking. So again, it's just up and down. And then we're going to work on the inner and outer hip muscles, which is squeezing and opening and squeezing and opening. You can put a pillow in between your knees for resistance if you want, and it's just to squeeze and to open. With the arms, we're going to focus on lifting up and down. Now if you have shoulder problems, this is generally one of the ones that tends to be a little more difficult. So this is where you can adjust the height, where you're only going up a little bit versus going up all the way. Again, resistance can be added with bottles of water, canned food, so on and so forth. You're going to have one called row, we call it row the boat, which is just out and forward like you're rowing a boat, and then opening and closing, and then punching bag. Okay? And these exercises work the shoulders and all the primary ranges with which they move. So with all these exercises, what you want to be focusing on is how often do you do them in a day, and how many repetitions are you going to be doing each time. I always say to start off light, which is going to be a 5 to 10 repetitions, pushing yourself up to 20 to 30 repetitions. And then depending on how debilitated you are, active you are, you're going to be focusing on 1 to 2 times a day up to 3 to 5 times a day, just depending again on how active or inactive you are and how aggressive you are wanting to get in getting better. Always ramp yourself up, and before you start an exercise program, be sure to consult your doctor for any possible limitations. With regards to exercise, just keep in mind slow, deliberate movements. We don't want fast movements. We want everything to be slow and controlled in order to gain maximum benefit from every motion. So I showed you a few sitting exercises, now to a few standing exercises. So we're starting off with tiptoe exercises, up and down, on the toes. You can do double leg, and if you want to make it more difficult, single leg. Okay. The position of the knee does affect it, so if the knee is straight versus bent, that's going to address a different muscle in your lower leg. And we're talking about a side kicking exercise. This works on stabilizing the hip muscles with regards to movement and walking. And then a foot clearance exercise, which is going to be up and down like you're stomping your foot. Sometimes stomping one at a time can be difficult, so we'll alternate back and forth as if you're marching. That's another variable. Finally, the most careful exercise is going to be mini squats. You're holding onto the chair, back is straight, and you're just going up and down. You're not going way down. You don't want to bother the knees. This can be painful, so I want to make sure you abbreviate the motion so that you're able to accomplish it without significant discomfort. So a couple final things I want to touch on. A lot of times people wonder, how long should this take? 30 minutes, an hour, 10 minutes? The goal and the focus shouldn't be how long or how short. It's just to go through the exercises slowly and competently with the reps that you can tolerate. Generally speaking, it takes about 20-30 minutes or so to go through this slowly and carefully. I have patients that break it up, where they'll do the legs at one point in time, the arms a little bit later, and then the standing exercises at a different time frame. You can adjust the combination of exercise in any way that works for you. So always remember to consult your doctor before beginning an exercise program. You want to ensure that all the motions and activities that we're able to do are approved by your doctor and safe with regards to your specific situation and diagnoses. Also, always remember water. Drink water, hydrate. It's a very, very important component with regards to activity. As Ed and Gina had said earlier, walking overall, if you have to choose an activity, it's one of the best and most complete exercises. It takes into account all the different motions that I've shown you with the exercises so far. Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the outdoors as much as I have today. Again, my name is Rafael Pardeiro, and I hope you enjoy the exercises and have a blessed day.